Hey YouTube, I just picked up this triple feed walking foot machine by Brother. It's a model LS2-B837-310. And when I got it, it was horribly filthy. I mean, it'd been sitting for a long time. It was pretty obvious and collecting dust just everywhere. Had this horrible yellowing substance that was here kind of caked on. I think it may have been grease or something spilled on it and just dried over time. But I spent a fair considerable amount of time trying to get it all off. I just kind of gave up on trying to get it all completely cleaned, and I went ahead and just cleaned it up as best I could. And then I put myself some stickers to cover the more troubled areas. But I like my Harley badge. It didn't have the Brother badge, but I can care less about that. I'd rather have my Harley badge here. And my other stickers I think complement it nicely. It's a guy's machine just looking at it from here, right? But anyhow, the guy that I bought it from usually flips machines apparently, and he had only had this for about a month, but had done nothing to it because it's a 240 volt, and he didn't want to mess with it. So he decided to sell it. I picked it up, paid $350 for it, and I decided on the motor. Once I took this all apart, separated the motor out, and I noticed it's a servo motor, which at first blush I thought it was a clutch motor. You can see the motor in that box right there. But no, it's a servo motor, but it is 240 volt, and it is not also 110, so I can't just rewire it to 110. And my problem is, rather my dilemma, is getting it to a 110 application. Well, I do have a 240 outlet at my house. I don't want to dedicate it to a sewing machine, so I want 110. And I have a few options. One, ideally, would be to get a 110 servo motor that has the same spacing for the mounting holes as that are on that existing Brother motor, and just pop it in, and hopefully it will keep all the functions that are on this machine operating. That's one option. The second option is getting a stepper, a transformer, and just wiring this back up as a 240, and then adapting the plug to the stepper transformer, and then step it down to 110 voltage. So that's probably the cheapest option, I think, as I'm looking at it. The other option would be just to forego the existing servo, buy a new 110 servo, and then retrofit it to the underside of the table and hook it up, and it'll run fine. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure if I did that third option, I would lose all the features that came with this machine, because they're all board controlled, and those boards are on that housing of the motor. So the motor itself, I can pull that off with 4 bolts and detach the control harness, and then reattach a motor. But all the other boards and such, I'd have to somehow get them under this machine, and that's more hassle than it's worth. So if any of you have gone through this, adapting a 240 volt or 220 volt, same thing, to a 110, 120 application, let me know what worked best for you, how it was accomplished, and how you liked it. The features that I'm speaking of that come with this particular machine, the 310 version, would be an automatic thread cutter, which actually I believe that's what this board does. It's kind of programs the thread cutter, or at least one of the functions is that. But there's also you can just cut the thread like that. But I see the blades under there. I don't think you can see anything now, but trust me, they're there. Anyhow, the other features that are part of it, the boards that I'm speaking of, are there's a synchronizer as part of the pull wheel. And I really don't know what a synchronizer does, but that's one of the features. The other one is a rapid reverse. That's this little arm here that It's controlled by, there's a solenoid in the back. Now it has regular reverse. I don't know what a rapid reverse is. So anyhow, I would like to keep all of these features if possible. Otherwise I just have to remove all that stuff, or it's just kind of useless, the stuff that's in the back, the panel and so forth. But I think it's a very good machine. All it was missing really was this these tension assembly, which I've already ordered, and that's it. I mean, it comes with everything else. The wheel turns beautifully. I mainly focused on the underside, you know, the gearing and such, to make sure that it turns smoothly and there's no problem. It still is not oiled fully. I just sprayed a bunch of WD and stuff on the underside and then started hitting it with some Singer oil. But there's a reservoir right here that you fill up with oil, and then there's I believe there's a reservoir up here, because this is the window to measure how much oil you have in there, wherever that container is. I know there's a container in here because as I flipped up the machine, I can see the container, and there's a series of wicks that go through this entire machine. So it's kind of a hybrid. It's not automatic by any stretch. You still have to refill the oil, but it does have a lot of wicks that finger throughout the gearing, and does supposedly a sufficient amount of oiling, and that's a nice feature. I don't know what date this machine goes back to, but it's no longer made. It was made in Japan, and I think it's a nice heavy-duty machine. I mean, the gearing is really beefed up, so I'm looking forward to using it. Anyhow, if any of you have dealt with that issue on the conversion, please let me know what worked best for you. I'm looking forward to getting this running and sewing some stuff with it. But this is the Brother walking foot machine, and the earlier ones I think are the best ones because they're economically a much better deal than trying to go with one of the new ones. Paying $1,000 or $1,500 for a machine, it just doesn't have my interest at that kind of price. But I hope you got something out of it. Until next time.